if you've earned a pension, first off, congratulations. It takes a lot of years, 20, 30, or maybe even more years to qualify for most pensions these days. So you have earned something that's very valuable to you and your family, and you want to make good decisions about it. So in today's video, I do want to share with you what the secret do-it-yourself strategy is that very few people think about with pensions. But first, I want to talk about some of the more common decisions that you have to make, and then we'll jump into this lesser known strategy. So the first decision many pensioners need to make is, do you take a lump sum or do you take it over time? And there's the quantitative answer, there's the numbers answer, and then there's also the emotional answer, and both are important. So for the quantitative answer, what's that pension worth? I would say somewhere between 15 and 25 times. And the reason for such a large range is it depends on if it's inflation adjusted. It depends on what your health is, how long you're planning to live. It depends on a lot of factors, and you do not want to use a range like I just shared to actually make that decision. I just want to get you in the ballpark and encourage you to work with an accountant or a financial advisor to actually dig deep into the numbers. You don't want to use a rule of thumb like that. But for instance, the 25 times annual amount that you're getting paid, I use that because that is essentially the 4% rule. The inverse of 4% is 25. So you take the annual amount, you multiply that by 25, and that might be what it's worth, but that would be for an inflation-adjusted pension, which few people have. So, there's a big range, and you also need to factor in the emotional side of things. And what do I mean by the emotional side of things? What I mean is what I have noticed, having been a financial advisor for over 20 years, is people, now retired, but people that have a pension tend to be much more comfortable spending that money. And I think many people sacrifice unnecessarily in retirement. So one of the values of the pensions that cannot be overstated is just the mental sense of security that comes from having that check come in every month. And I think it gives many people the freedom to say, let's actually spend this money. It's over half of all Americans find themselves with about 80% or more of their retirement account balances 15, 16, 17 years into retirement. So many people are not using the money that they worked hard for. So that's one of the key values of a pension. The next one is, I want to just a friendly reminder that we only need to win once. So as you look at your pension, as you're looking at this decision, do you take the lump sum or do you take it out over time? And as you look at your other retirement accounts, if you've already won, if you already have enough money to meet your financial goals, then quit playing. Take no more risk than what you need to achieve your goals. I should say none of this is financial advice. I don't know your situation. These are just things to put on your radar screen. Okay, the next one is thinking through, what are the risks associated with your pension? And even companies that have very strong balance sheets, let's say you have a pension from a Fortune 500 company, even for companies that are strong today, hopefully you're getting this pension for 30 or 40 years, maybe longer. That's a long time in corporate America. So what's the risk associated with that pension? If you haven't heard of this organization yet, I want to put it on your radar screen. It's called the Pension Benefits Guarantee Corporation, which is an organization that guarantees private pensions. But importantly, there's limits on how much they will guarantee. And so you want to look into how that works. So again, it's known as the Pension Benefits Guarantee Corporation, or PBGC. And another thing to think about is just putting yourself in a situation where you're unlikely to become a forced seller in a down market, and where most people where most retirees end up being a forced seller in a down market is they need cash flows to fund their lifestyle And the only source of income that they have are their retirement assets. And if they're fully invested in the stock market, then if the stock market were to fall 20, 30, 40%, they've got no other place to go than sell stocks to raise that money that they need to live, or potentially worse, because it could move everything to a sell, which is the mental anguish of a drop like a 30 or 40%, causes them to lose sleep, causes them to worry, causes them to frankly panic and to sell. They just want the pain to stop of the market going down, of their lifetime worth of work, net worth, financial net worth continuing to drop. They want that pain to stop and they end up selling. Neither of those are good situations. So even with a pension, ask yourself, is that enough to meet your living expenses? If not, super important to look at how your other accounts are invested to help you avoid being a forced seller in a down market. Okay, let's keep going. Now, I want to bring up the secret strategy, but before I get there, I have one last really important thing I need to share with you, and that is the importance of doing a financial plan, of doing a retirement plan, of getting a professional involved. These are important decisions for you. I urge you to work with an accountant or a financial advisor. If some people want to do this themselves, if that's you, there is software for general retirement planning, for general financial planning. The software that I like is called Bolden. Used to be called New Retirement. You can get Bolden at this QR code here. It's very affordable, much more powerful than Google Sheets or Excel. Why waste all that time building your own plan in Google Sheets or Excel? You're likely to make a mistake. It's going to take dozens of hours, if not hundreds of hours. And there's inexpensive software like Bolden available. Okay, now let's talk about the secret pension strategy. Whether you have a pension or not, this applies to everybody. And as I said earlier, we all want certainty. But unfortunately, we cannot get certainty when it comes to our financial plans. But what we can do is say for a period of time, one of the challenges we have is how long are we going to live? How long is that period of time going to be? Is it going to be 20 years, 30 years, 40 years? We don't know, 50 years? And so one of the ways you can get some certainty in those later years is to create your own pension, your own do-it-yourself pension, using what's called a longevity insurance, a longevity annuity. Now, I have to say, I'm not licensed to sell an annuity, nor do I consider myself to be an annuity expert, but I do think you should know that there's something like that there's a tool available that you can buy that says, maybe when you hit 80 or 85, if you make it to that age, it's going to pay you so much every month for the rest of your life, which gives you one point of certainty that once you get to a certain point, at that level, then you've got this income stream coming in. So it's kind of a do-it-yourself pension. For folks that don't have a pension, it's an insurance company that will give you a monthly amount for the rest of your life. There's all kinds of different longevity insurance annuities. You'll have to look into that yourself. But it's either called a longevity insurance or a deferred income annuity, DIA. So, and the official definition of a deferred income annuity is a type of annuity contract that's designed to provide lifetime guaranteed income at a predetermined future target date. Its primary purpose is to protect against outliving assets at advanced ages in the most efficient manner possible. If you enjoyed this video, I think you'll also enjoy this video up here, which talks about 8 things to stop doing in our 50s and 60s in order to enjoy our journey until we get to retire. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.